So let us start with our beautiful recitation of Qasida. The title is Ali transformed the toil of this world into the next world's treasure. रंज दुनिया को अली ने गंज उकबा कर दिया. My Lord is himself witness. My Lord is himself witness that I was extremely helpless. In knowledge, I was empty-handed and abject like an animal. In a young age, as a shepherd, I was deprived of school. I was compelled to look after sheep and goat. My heart was colored with love of Ali. My heart was colored with love for Ali. Although apparently my every state was very severe. The quake of light and the chain of the supreme name were the highest gifts of the Hujjat-e-Qaim to me. I was always blessed by Maula's light. By his mercy, this poor one was always successful. Ali transformed the toil of this world into the next world's treasure. By his mercy, he made me undergo the resurrection. Nur Maulana Kareem is the Imam of both the worlds. Nur Maulana Kareem is the Imam of both the worlds. This Nasiruddin is but one of the lowest of his slaves. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. It feels like that it is us we are reading about. I am reading about myself, I feel like. That I was like an animal before this knowledge. Without this true knowledge, I was empty-handed. But how beautifully Allama Nasiruddin Hunzai writes about our state of our intellect. How beautifully is written. So with your prayers, I'll try to sing it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ali Allah madad farma. मेरा मौला खुद गवाह है मैं बहुत नाचार था इल्म दानिश से तही दस्त मिसले हैवान खार था नौजवानी में चौपान मदरसे से दूर था नौजवानी में चौपान मदरसे से दूर था भेड़ और बकरी की खिदमत के लिए मजबूर था मेरा दिल हुब्बे अली के रंग से रंगीन था मेरा दिल हुब्बे अली के रंग से रंगीन था गर्चे मुझ पर जाहिरन हर हाल सख्त संगीन था गर्चे मुझ पर जाहिरन हर हाल सख्त संगीन था नूर का एक ज़लज़ला और इसमें आज़म का सिलसिला नूर का एक ज़लज़ला और इसमें आज़म का सिलसिला हुज्जत-ए-क़ाइम से मुझको बरतरीन इन्आम था حجت قائم سے مجھ کو برترین انعام تھا. نور مولا سے ہمیشہ فیض یابی ہو گئی. نور مولا سے ہمیشہ فیض یابی ہو گئی. اس کو رحمت سے غریب کی کامیابی ہو گئی. اس کی رحمت سے غریب کی کامیابی ہو گئی. رنج دنیا کو علی نے گنج عقبہ کر دیا. رنج دنیا کو علی نے گنج عقبہ کر دیا. اپنی رحمت سے قیامات ہم پہ برپا کر دیا. اپنی رحمت سے قیامات ہم پہ برپا کر دیا. نور مولانا کریم ہے دونوں عالم کا امام. نور مولانا کریم ہے دونوں عالم کا امام. یہ نصیر الدین ہے اس کا ایک ادنا غلام. یہ نصیر الدین ہے اس کا ایک ادنا غلام. نور مولانا کریم ہے دونوں عالم کا امام. یہ نصیر الدین ہے اس کا ایک ادنا غلام. میرا مولا خود گواہ ہے میں بہت ناچار تھا. علم و دانش سے تہی دست مثل حیوان خوار تھا. حسبنا اللہ و نعم الوکیل و نعم المولا و نعم النصیر. حسبنا اللہ و نعم الوکیل و نعم المولا و نعم النصیر. حسبنا اللہ و نعم الوکیل و نعم المولا و نعم النصیر. حسبنا اللہ و نعم الوکیل و نعم المولا و نعم النصیر. توفیق تائید ہمت یاری. توفیق تائید ہمت یاری. توفیق تائید ہمت یاری. توفیق تائید ہمت یاری. یا مولا یا مشکل کشا مہربان مولا, this humble slave of yours مولا seeks your madad مولا. یا مولا یا مولا help this ناچیز مولا. او مشکل کشا مہربان مولا مدد فرما مدد فرما. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. Today we will continue with our study of chapter 3. Today is session 6. Actually, we will be studying the last question, which is question number 52. We have done till the 60, but 52 was a long question, so I had skipped it. And today we will do just part 1 of it. And inshallah, we'll do the next time the half of it. It's a beautiful concept, and it's about the story of Zu'l-Qarnayn and Gog Magog, or Yajuj wa Majuj. The story of Zu'l-Qarnayn is mentioned in Qur'an in chapter 18, Surah 18, verses from 83 to 98. And the question 52 actually asks, who was Zu'l-Qarnayn? What is his rank? What was the nature of his journey? And this is covered from verses 83 to 91. And we will focus on that part only. The next class, we will talk about Gog Magog and Alexandrian Wall, which is from 92 to 98 verses. So let us start with the story of Zu'l-Qarnayn. Chapter 18, verse 83 to 91. Today I've written all the verses because I'm not sure how many of my friends who are here are going back and reading the Quran. We have talked about it that the verses which we do in the class, we should go back and read them. So hopefully you all are opening your Quran, writing it down, highlighting it. So let us just go through these verses from chapter 18, verse 83 to 91. They asked thee concerning Zu'l-Qarnayn. Hear these, Prophet Muhammad. So the people were asking Prophet Muhammad about Zu'l-Qarnayn. And Allah says, say, I will rehearse to you something of his story. So I will tell you his story. Verily, we established his power on earth, and we gave him the ways and the means to all ends. Everything was given to him, all ends, and he followed a road. So he goes on a journey. Now on his journey, what happens? Then Quran says, until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it set in a spring of a murky water. Near it he found a people. We said, O Zu'l-Qarnayn, either to punish them or treat them with kindness. He said, whoever has done wrong, they will be punished. Then shall he be sent back to his Lord, and he will punish him with a punishment unheard of. But whoever believes and works righteousness, he shall have a goodly reward, and easy will be his task, as we order it by our command. Then again he followed a road, until when he came to the rising of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no covering, protection against the sun. As they were, we completely understood what was before him. Now these verses which I just read, they are full of allegories, full of ta'wil. It does not make sense. How can the journey begin when the sun is setting and then the sun is rising? And what punishment, what people, it doesn't make sense at all. This story is full of allegories. So let us go further and try and understand. I'm not sure how many friends are those who understand Urdu. I've just read it in English. If any friend wants me to read it in Urdu, do chat so we can read it in Urdu too. So how do we understand the story of Zu'l-Qarnayn? In order to understand the story of Zu'l-Qarnayn, we will have to understand two underlying concepts, which you have already known, but we'll review it. The first is to understand the roots of religion, usul-i, and the second is universals. So usul-i, what we are going to do here, roots of religion, we are referring to the branch. If religion were to be a tree, then this tree has physical branches and spiritual branches. So asal is the singular of usul, roots and root. We'll just review the spiritual roots in Urdu it is asal-e ruhani, and these roots are universal intellect, aql-e kul, and universal soul, nafs-e kul. So the spiritual roots are universal intellect and universal soul, aql-e kul and nafs-e kul. Then there is physical roots, asal-e jismani, and those ranks, those hudud, those physical roots are natik and asad. Now very interestingly we can understand, okay, universal intellect and universal soul, we understand they are in spirituality, so we don't look for a physical personality. But natik being the Prophet Muhammad and Asas being the Maula Ali, they were physically present and physical personalities were there. But in today's time, we do not see them physically. So how these physical roots are functioning till today? So we do know that the chain of Hudud-e-Din is continued. After the Asas is the rank of Imam, and after the Imam is Hujjat, and after the Hujjat is Dai. They all are connected like a chain of a fountain. They all are connected. So today, all the nur of the spiritual roots as well as the physical roots, it is encompassed in Imam-e Mubin. Wa kulle shayin ahsaynahu fi Imam-e Mubin. Everything is encompassed in the Imam of the time. So the roots of religion, if we were to talk about the spiritual roots or the physical roots, the nur, the light is the Imam of the time. Now let us understand the universals. You must have heard me saying word kuliya or kuliyat. Kuliyat in English is universals. And the example of universals is actually this same verse which we read in Dua 36/12. Surah Yasin verse 12. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. Everything, kul, completely, in totality, everything. These verses are universals. So there are very many verses which talks about kul, in completion, in totality. I was trying to recall another verse and I thought of وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِندَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ وَمَا نُنَزِّلُهُ إِلَّا بِقَدْرٍ مَعْلُومٍ. It talks about everything. So I will have to give you more examples of universals, inshallah. Other than the verses, there are words too, which are symbolically used, having different tawili meaning. For example, in Quran, whenever it mentions sun means actually Imam. Wherever moon is mentioned, it is Pir. Wherever water is mentioned, it is the reference to true knowledge. And whenever it talks about earth, land, dust, it is talking about the absolute Momin, Mustajib, who is the absolute Zameen, who is the absolute earth. When that Mustajib elevates to Mazoon, then the Mazoon is also a Zameen. It is a lower rank in comparison to Dai. Then Dai is also Zameen to his sky, which is Hujjat. So that's how these concepts have to be understood. So when we talk of earth, we talk of the level of Mustajib, who is the absolute earth. Because below him there is nobody. He is the first rank. And Mustajib is the title of a Momin who says, I do not know true knowledge and I want to seek knowledge. So here is the gathering of Mustajib, that who are willing to learn and elevate their ranks so they can keep going further, higher and higher, and fana themselves, merge themselves. So the lower rank merges to the higher rank goes to highest rank. This journey keeps going on and the lower ranks with their hard work, righteousness, purification of deeds, ilmu ibadat, zikro ibadat, ilmu amal with giryazari, all those conditions which we've been talking about, one elevates the ranks to be fana in the higher rank, in the higher rank, in the higher rank, until one is merged with the Imam of the time. So Alhamdulillah, we understand the concept of kuliyat too. Now let's talk about Zu'l-Qarnayn. Zu'l-Qarnayn, when Prophet Muhammad was actually sitting in gathering in one of the classes, and one of the companion of Prophet says, "Who is this Zu'l-Qarnayn? What does Zu'l-Qarnayn mean?" And Prophet Muhammad says, "The one who has two horns." We know about horns. One who has two horns. And one can understand that two horns meaning that one horn represents the world and the other is spirituality. The one who possesses both the worlds, who is the king of both the worlds. Zu'l-Qarnayn is the name. The meaning of it is possessor of two horns. And there is a beautiful hadith by Prophet Muhammad, and he says, "Ali, there is a special house for you in paradise, and you are Zu'l-Qarnayn for this ummah." Mawla Ali was told by Prophet Muhammad that you are the Zu'l-Qarnayn for this ummah. From this hadith we are learning that Zu'l-Qarnayn was the Imam of his time. Zu'l-Qarnayn was the Imam of his time. Seeing Zu'l-Qarnayn, talking about Zu'l-Qarnayn is as if we are talking about Mawla Ali, because they are Imam. All the attributions which we see in Zu'l-Qarnayn in these verses are actually the attributions of Mawla Ali. So like Mawla Ali, Zu'l-Qarnayn is also the Imam of his time. There is also in Ardai's book, it's been mentioned that Zu'l-Qarnayn was from the lineage of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. And I'm going to read from this book. Again, this book is available monoreality.org, and it refers to Imamatu fil Islam, page 148. It talks about Hazrat Zu'l-Qarnayn's lineage of the permanent Imams of the cycle of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. So Zu'l-Qarnayn is the son of Abhir, son of Salik, son of Kinan, son of Arfakshat, son of Sam, son of Nuh. So he is one of the permanent Imam who is from the lineage of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Again, Prophet Nuh was the major prophet. So Zu'l-Qarnayn is the Imam of his time. So who was Zu'l-Qarnayn? Now we know he was the Imam of his time. Now when we review these verses, the ta'wil of this story is very, very interesting. So it starts with Zu'l-Qarnayn going on the journey. And Zu'l-Qarnayn has all the knowledge. If you were to read carefully, you will find the similarity in the verse as if it's saying, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَسَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ, without the word Imam Mubin. Zu'l-Qarnayn was given all the knowledge, everything. This world and that world. So therefore we know from the Qur'an too, Allah is talking about Zu'l-Qarnayn being the king of both the worlds, being the Imam of his time. So when he goes on his journey, he sees a place where sun is setting, Maghribul Shams, in a muddy water. Very interestingly, sun is setting in a muddy water. Now when we are looking at this word, mud is actually dust mixed with water. Dust is what? Dust is who? Now we know dust is a moment. And when a moment receives knowledge, what happens to him? He becomes muddy water, kichad. That dust becomes muddy, murky water. So this story is actually of a moment who has started his journey within the Imam. Imam is telling us the story of a Mu'min who is walking on his journey within the Imam. So this Mu'min is Salik, who was Mustajib, who got interested in knowledge, and he took knowledge so much so that he looked like a muddy water. And sun was setting in him. Who is the sun? We all know it is the Imam of the time. When a Mu'min is Salik seeks knowledge, constantly keeps drinking this treasure, this water of true knowledge, he keeps elevating his ranks. And we think that we have to walk on this path, on this journey to be one with the Imam. In reality, we are not capable of reaching to Imam. It is his mercy that he comes to us. And that's what it's saying here. That this Mu'min is Salik who started walking on his journey, very hardworking, very sincere in his efforts. There was no laziness, there was no excuse. Very, very hardworking Mu'min. Imam is telling us that the Imam went into his personal world. The light was lit. Whose light? The light of Imam was lit in that moment. Maghribul Shams, place of sunsetting in muddy water. Now, when we are talking of this place, what does this place means? Actually, it refers to the ta'wil is asle jismani, meaning the physical principles, the physical hudud or ranks, which we know they are Natik and Asas. And Maghrib being the place where Natik and Asas are there, it is the place of light of wisdom and knowledge. Because Natik and Asas are there. Meaning that this Mu'min as Salik continued to seek knowledge and wisdom from who? He was able to get to the knowledge of Asas, meaning he got to the wisdom, the ta'wil and the tanzil of Natik. When he kept on seeking that knowledge, he became muddy water. And then the sun is setting in Maghrib. Now, this sun is of course not physical sun, though when we read the verse, it sounds like that the sun is setting in west, but it's not a physical sun. Allah is not talking about only physical things in Quran. Allegorically, He is talking about the spiritual sun who is the Imam of the time, who is actually coming to Mu'min's heart, coming to Mu'min's personal world. This Mu'min has purified his heart so much so that the Mawla becomes razi, he becomes happy, and he takes this spiritual journey to come close to this Mu'min. And now this Mu'min is in the presence of Imam. Remember, when we talk of Asas and Natik here, don't forget that in today's time we'll say we have no Asas, we have no Natik. But the ta'wil of Asas, the knowledge of Natik is present today too through the Hudud-e-Deen. They are not physically present because Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah has merged them all in himself. During the time of Sultan Muhammad Shah, Piratan was merged into Imamat. But then he also made this farman that those of you who want to become like Pir Sadruddin, Pir Shams or even higher, you can do that. So all these ranks are existing, but they are existing in batin. So whenever we read this physical hudud or physical ranks, do not be thinking, oh, it was in Zu'l-Qarnayn's time, it was in Hazrat Nuh's time, it doesn't apply to us. No, this is story of a Mu'min in today's time who works hard, who walks on this path, can get to this level where he or she can get the wisdom of Asas and the knowledge of Natik. How? Through Imam, through Hujjat, through Dai, in the batin. Because this time is time of Qiyamah. Very different time we are living in. Now, when we read about sun rising in east, what does that mean? sun rising in east. And it says Matli al-Shams, the place where the sun was rising. And here it is referring to Asle Ruhani, the spiritual ranks or spiritual hudud, which are universal intellect and universal soul. Now these ranks are the place where the light of wisdom and knowledge rises. It's the place of Tawheed. It's the place of oneness, the single soul. It is where the light rises into the physical hudud, Natik and Asas. And therefore, we are seeing here that the sun is rising in east, meaning that these spiritual ranks, spiritual hudud, are always in work, sending this light of Tawheed, of oneness, to the physical hudud. It's always happening. It's constant process. Imamat, the chain of the light of Imamat is continuous. We are talking about Imam Zu'l-Qarnayn, but today it is Nur Maulana Shah Karim al-Sani Hazri Imam Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All the miracles, attributions with Zu'l-Qarnayn had, Maula has it today. But how beautifully, how interestingly we are learning this knowledge through knowledge of secrets of Hazrat Imam through this Qur'an and this journey of Zu'l-Qarnayn. How beautiful it is. It is the story of a mu'min who works hard, meaning we all have this chance, this opportunity, this hope that if we were to follow the steps mentioned, we will have the sun setting in ourselves. And then sun rises from universal intellect and universal soul, meaning that a mu'min who elevates himself or herself, meaning Arif, and then there is a rank of Arif-e-Kamil. If one becomes Arif-e-Kamil, the one who has complete marifat, who is a complete Arif, he or she is able to merge themselves to the highest ranks of universal soul and universal intellect, which are truly encompassed in Imam of the time today. If we were to understand this through the example of Adam, chapter 15 verse 26 says, "And verily we created Adam from sounding clay." In Urdu it says, "Khan khanati hui mitti." Khan khanati hui mitti. So mitti is dust, earth, land, whatever you want to say. But this mitti, which was used for Adam, there was a sound, khan 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 sound. Now, what does that mean? And then the verse says, 15 by 26, "And verily we created Adam from a sounding clay, from mud, molded into shape." Clay, clay, the attribution of clay is when it accepts the water, it becomes clay. Now you can make shapes out of it. You can mold. If it's a rock, very hard rock, it will not absorb water. It cannot be molded. But if that sand or dust which accepts the water, it can be molded, made into clay. It's the type of the soil. The soil who knows or who accepts the water. And that soil will have growth, can be molded, can be fana into the higher rank. So let's take example of the soil. The soil, if there is a rainfall, if the soil accepts the water, there will be growth, there will be vegetation. And that vegetation will be eaten by, let's say, animals or human. So that soil, which was just on the earth, had no ranks. But when it accepted the water and then there was a vegetation, if it was eaten by animal, it became fana. It became merged with that animal. And if we were to understand this hierarchy of fanayat, if we were to eat that animal elevates its rank and being fana with the human. It merges with the human. And now this human, who is the example of a soil, becomes a mu'min, accepts the knowledge, true knowledge, zikro ibadat, ilmo amal with girya uzari. What happens to that mu'min? In the story of Zu'l-Qarnayn, Imam says, I saw that moment his personal world was ready, and then I merged myself into my moment. I went into his heart. The sun was setting into the personal world of a moment. How beautiful is this story? This is the story of hope. This is the story of us. So, this is the story of a moment. So, I'll stop here. If we have any questions, let's talk about it.
हाँ हाँ याली मदद भाई माँ अच्छा भाई माँ ये जो आपने लास्ट आयत समझाई ना वो खनखनती हुई मट्टी आपके बारे में बताया ना
जी जी
1526 अच्छा so that was what I understood is that was a dry granule when mixed with the water means with the ilm it becomes mud which can be folded.
Yes.
Now this mud is absorbed by vegetative soil, right? And this vegetative soil, this vegetation is eaten by the animals. And if we take that animal, so that soul enters into us, that ilm enters into us. Correct?
No. You are taking the example. You are mixing the essence. So one is example, एक होती है मिसाल और एक होता है ममसूल. I was giving you the example so allegorically you can understand. There's no relationship of this eating of vegetation to the knowledge. That was an example.
Acha. Okay. Thank you so much. I mixed it about everything, that's why.
No problem. Any other friend has any? Mulali Madad Gulzar.
नियामत आप मुझे बुक का नाम बोलेंगे और पेज का नाम?
जी बिल्कुल. ये बुक है Recognition of Imam.
Okay.
And I would say गुलजार ये तो पूरी बुक पढ़नी चाहिए आपको तो. आप इतना इल्म में शौकीन हैं.
Recognition of Imam. Oh, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Any other question? Yali Madai?
Okay.